Hi, my name is Sierra, and I'm 22 years old. I will tell you the roller coaster story of my life today. I went from being dirt poor to becoming a millionaire overnight, and then lost all of my wealth once again because of my stupidity, before finding a way to get it back. If you're curious about how that happened, then let me start from the very beginning. It happened about a year ago. My family was not very well off, and my parents had struggled a lot to raise me and my brother. They used to do a number of part-time jobs to make ends meet. I wanted to help them, but they had strictly told me to focus on my studies and nothing else, so I made sure that I at least excelled at academics. Still, it was really difficult to watch my parents suffering like that while I sat back and did nothing. One day, however, one of my friends told me about a lottery that was offering millions to the winners. It's good, but you can never be sure with these things, I told her, shaking my head.
Exactly, she said. You can never be sure. What if you win it, huh? Come on, the ticket is really cheap compared to what it is really offering to the winner. It wouldn't hurt to give it a try.
But I don't even have a penny to spare, I said honestly.
Skip lunch for 2 days or something, my friend suggested. It isn't food to die for anyway.
Well, yeah, I could save my lunch money to buy the lottery ticket. And aside from my friend's insistence, I was a bit curious myself. Even though my chances of winning were slim, I was still slightly hopeful. So I ended up buying the ticket. I forgot about it after a few days, however, and got immersed in my studies. Almost a month later, my friend came to me squealing as if she had just seen her favorite celebrity. What happened? I asked her in confusion.
Sierra, you won the lottery,
she screamed, hugging me tightly.
I told you! See, you're a millionaire now!
I froze for 5 straight minutes before the news finally sunk in. I asked her again and again if she was playing a prank on me. She rolled her eyes and showed me the results of the draw on the internet. And she was right. My number was there in big, bold digits. I had won. I had really become a millionaire. It took me the whole day and a hell of a lot of pinching to finally believe it. A week later, when the money was transferred to my account, it became too real to deny it anymore. Although I still didn't tell anyone in my family. I had asked my friend to keep it a secret too. I wasn't sure if I should tell anyone. I mean, yeah, it was a big deal and everything, and my family should have been the first to find out. But I didn't want our relationships to change just because money was in the equation now. I had seen families breaking because of money, and I was too paranoid. So, I decided to make use of my wealth without letting anyone find out. Of course, I wasn't so selfish as to just use it on myself. I knew very well what I had to do. My first priority was improving my family's condition, and to do that without letting them find out was a big challenge. But I had an idea. I made anonymous donations to their bank accounts. I still can't forget the looks on their faces when they found out about it. They had called me and my brother to the living room and told it to us with utter joy. Someone took pity on us and transacted a huge amount of money to our bank account, my mom announced. Great, now I can finally buy all the stuff that I had been holding back on, my brother said. I am sure God is watching upon us. We have been paid for our hard work, my dad said. I just stood there, watching them with a smile on my face. Nothing could be more satisfying for me than to see my family happy. Apart from helping out my family, I also started helping my friends who were in need of money, and I even made donations to some charities. You were so virtuous, my friend said one day. If I was in your place, I would have probably spent the money on myself. I chuckled. I have more than I need. Why let other people suffer in front of my eyes when I can help them? That's only you, though, she shook her head. No one else would help you if you ever needed it. Even before you won the lottery, your financial status was not so good, but no one even bothered to ask how you were doing. I shrugged. It's not like they're asking me now. Yeah, that's because you haven't told anyone. She then eyed my outfit. And what's with those same old clothes? You're a millionaire now. Why don't you go shopping and buy expensive stuff for yourself? I like being this way, I told her. Money isn't going to change my basic nature and old habits. My friend sighed and closed the topic. Well, she had been bugging me to go shopping every day, and I'd always refused. I really didn't want to show off or anything. Besides, my brother went to the same college. If he saw me in expensive clothes, he would grow suspicious for sure. I went home one day to find my parents waiting for me. "Sierra, we have been able to pay all our bills and debts with the money that we got," my mom said excitedly. "Yes, and we still have a huge amount left," Dad said. "Now we can do things that we have always wanted to do." "God has been generous to us," Mom smiled. "We should be thankful." About that. "Yes, surely. It's only because of our faith in God that we are seeing such good days now," Dad nodded. "We should never take this for granted." "Aren't the two of you becoming too religious?" Matt, my brother, appeared from upstairs and frowned at Mom and Dad. "You keep on thanking God all the time." "Matt," Mom chided, "don't speak like that. It's because of God that we are so happy today." "Your mom is right. Those new clothes and sneakers that you bought for yourself is all because of the money that God gave us," Dad added. Okay, whoa, this was getting out of hand. Should I tell them? "You seriously believe that?" Matt laughed. "What if it's a rich secret admirer of mine who wanted me to live in luxury?" "Keep dreaming," Mom rolled her eyes. "We're going to donate some of the money to charities too, because we shouldn't be selfish with what God gave us." Mom and Dad left the house. That left me alone with Matt. He gave me a disgusted look. "What are you wearing? Do you have no class at all?" He scrunched up his nose. "What's wrong with this?" I furrowed my eyebrows. "These clothes are perfectly fine too." "You are so old-fashioned," Matt replied. "We have enough money now, yet you still go on roaming around like a poor girl. Seriously, I am even embarrassed to admit that you are my sister in front of anyone." Ouch, that hurt. Since when did relationships become about money and class? "Please stay away from me in college if possible," Matt continued. "If we cross paths, then let's pretend to not know each other. I don't want to be associated with you. I have a reputation to maintain." A reputation that he bought from my money, but I didn't tell this to him. This was one of the reasons that I was wary about revealing the results of the lottery to anyone. They would start faking their relationship with me. My brother would try to be nice to me, even if deep down he didn't like me. It was better this way. At least I knew his real sentiments for me. There was one more thing. No matter how much Matt resented me, I couldn't bring myself to do the same for him. I loved him so much, and I wanted to fulfill all his wishes. That's why when the next day, when he appeared with a list of things in front of Mom, and she refused to give him money to buy anything, I felt bad. Mom and Dad had been focused in using the money for charities and donations mostly. Matt went back to his room sullenly, but his list was still on the living room couch, so I picked it up when no one was looking. He had written things like a new car, guitar, expensive watches and shoes, branded clothes, and other luxurious products. I estimated the total cost of everything on his list and then transferred the approximate sum to Matt's bank account directly. He had come down jumping from the stairs the next day. "Look, the same private account made a deposit to my bank account," he showed us his phone screen. "You guys, I can now buy everything that I want." "Matt, God is looking over us," Dad said. "You shouldn't let this money go in vain. Put it into something useful. You should think of helping out others first." "Dad, please, can you stop preaching for once?" Matt said in irritation. "It's my money. You can't tell me what to do with it." And then he left the house, off to finally buy his stuff. "Sierra," Dad turned to me, "did you get money in your account too?" "No," I replied, startled for a second that I had maybe been caught. "That's weird," he mused. "All of us did except you. Maybe it's your turn next." "Yep, maybe," I agreed with him. "If that happens, then make sure to give it all to some charity," he patted my shoulder. "I know you can do better than Matt. We should do good deeds and repay God for what he has given to us." Oh well, I was already doing it. I had already donated a lot of money to the charities, and the rest I was using for my family. I wanted them to use it on their needs and necessities. But instead of doing that, Mom and Dad were now leaning more and more towards charity, and it was kind of driving me insane. I mean, don't get me wrong. Helping others was a good thing, and I was fully supportive of it. But there were times when one needed to be selfish and sort out their priorities. My only concern was seeing my parents happy, so I was using my money on them. I wanted to use it for myself too, but I couldn't get carried away and expose my own secret. I wasn't about to let money ruin my relationship with others. I didn't want fake people around me who wanted to impress me just because I was rich. So, yeah, I had no other option but to pretend that I was still the same poor girl. It certainly didn't feel nice to get humiliated by my brother after everything I was doing for him, but I will admit I was a bit of a pushover. I just loved my family too much and wanted to see them happy and satisfied. In all of this, I completely forgot that my money wasn't going to last forever. My parents' charity work and my brother's quest for luxury had started draining my bank account. And it was my friend who made me aware of this.
Sierra, your money isn't going to last forever, she told me one day. You should do something and try to save something for your future.
But what about my family then? I asked her. She sighed.
For once, stop thinking about them and start thinking about yourself. You know what? You need to clear your head. Let's go out tonight. We'll have fun.
I started to protest, but she told me she wasn't going to take no for an answer, and I knew that it was useless to argue with her. She could be pretty persistent at times. We went to a bar to hang out and enjoy ourselves. Halfway into the night, I was sitting by myself at a bar stool while my friend was out there socializing. A guy who was sitting beside me approached me. "Hey, you seem to be quite upset," he said in a concerned voice. "Can I help you?" Well, I guess my worries were showing on my face now. All my issues related to family, money, etc. were eating me up on the inside, no matter how hard I tried to ignore them. The guy bought me a drink or two, and after having those drinks, I completely let loose. "My name is Rex," he said. "I may be a complete stranger, but I assure you, your secrets will be safe with me. You can trust me with anything." I was not sober, and not in my senses, so naturally I believed his words, and I opened up to him about everything that was going on in my life. My parents struggled all these years to even pay the rent to our house. They did all sorts of jobs to earn whatever they could, I started, and then one day I won the lottery. Suddenly I had more money than I had use of. I didn't tell anyone about it, though, and decided to help everyone secretly. I spoiled my family. My brother bought everything he had ever wanted for himself, and my parents paid all their debts and bills, too. For the first few days, even they indulged in luxury and bought stuff for themselves. But then they became super religious all of a sudden and started fearing God, and they started giving away the money to charity. My bank account is slowly getting drained, and now I'm realizing that the amount I won in the lottery won't last forever. It's getting scary. Rex nodded in understanding. "So, from what I understand, your main concern is money right now, right?" "Yes, you could say so," I replied. "Then I guess it was fate that we met today." He gave me a charming smile. "I have a scheme where you can invest your money and it will grow and give you huge returns in no time." "What, really?" I asked in amazement. "I don't have to work for it?" He shook his head. "Not at all." He went on to explain something about investment and interests and return, but my muddled brain couldn't make sense of anything. All I knew was that I liked him and I wanted to trust him. So I just sat there and nodded at everything he said. "So, what do you say?" he asked at last. "Would you like to invest your money in this?" "Sure," I smiled, "but I have a condition." He gave me a confused look. "What condition?" "You will have to go on a date with me tomorrow," I said. He chuckled. "Oh yeah, that can be easily arranged." So we exchanged numbers and promised to remain in touch before I left with my friend. Rex and I went on a date the next day, and we discussed further about his investment scheme. He showed me proof of how he had more investors and they had made gains from it already. I got convinced pretty easily, so I blindly gave him whatever money there was in my bank account. After that, we continued dating for a few more days before the cursed day arrived. Rex wasn't answering my calls or replying to my emails. I thought that he might be busy somewhere, so I decided to give it a day. But 3 days passed, and there was no news from him. His phone was switched off, and there was no way to connect to him. I didn't even know where he lived. I was not just worried about him, there was one more problem. My family was running out of money, and I needed to transfer them funds soon. Rex had promised me that I would get my promised return by this time, but he had disappeared now. All the worst-case scenarios were coming to my mind, but I didn't want to believe them just yet. I told my friend about Rex and his scheme and where I'd invested. Her jaw dropped to the floor.
"Sierra, are you kidding me?" she exclaimed. "How could you believe a complete stranger you met at a bar?"
"He seemed genuine," I muttered, and he listened to me very intently.
"Yeah, well, that's what they all do when they want something from you," she stated. "This Rex guy, if that's even his real name, has swindled you. He's run away with your money. And I am pretty sure that you were not his first victim. I have heard of these kinds of schemes on the news lately. They get a lot of investors to make it believable and then run away after getting enough money."
I already had a hunch about this, but hearing my friend saying it out loud made it very real, and my whole world shattered around me. I fell in love with the swindler who took all my money, and now I was on the verge of becoming homeless along with my family. Of course, I still couldn't tell my family anything. Their anxiety was growing by the day because this anonymous donor, aka who had been looking after them till now, had stopped sending them money. I was as helpless as them, though. There was nothing I could do now. And the fact that they were now used to living in luxury wasn't helping either. Our expenses had multiplied by 10 times than what they were before the whole lottery thing. It just took 2 or 3 months more, and we were already knee-deep in debt again. Our situation was worse than ever, and it looked like we were going to end up on the streets at this rate. I couldn't help but feel like it was all my fault. And it probably was. First, I spoiled my family, and now this happened. How much of a fool could I be? How the heck did I even trust Rex? Was I completely out of my mind? What was I even thinking when I went ahead and gave him all my money? And then there was nothing I could do to fix it, or to get my money back. It was frustrating beyond measure. One day, just like this, I was walking back home feeling completely dejected and disappointed in myself. That's when my eyes fell on something. It was a TV inside a McDonald's. I had just gotten a fleeting glimpse when someone had opened the door. I was pretty sure that I had seen a familiar face on the TV. I rushed inside quickly and saw the news on the TV. Yes, I was right. It was about Rex. They were showing that this fraud person had been caught by the police. He had run away with the money of more than 20 investors. They were investigating him and had instructed him to return all the money along with interest to all the investors that he had stolen from. Hope bubbled inside me. I finally had a second chance. I could get my money back now. I noted the names of the lawyers from the news and then searched the internet to find their contact information. I sent an email to one of the lawyers. He replied back the next day, giving me an address where I could meet him. I didn't waste any time in going to the given address. I explained everything to the lawyer and showed him the proof of transaction that I had made to Rex. Well, everything went well to my happiness, and I got my money back along with the promised interest within the next few weeks. The first thing I did was transfer money to my parents' bank account. They were clearly surprised. "What just happened?" my mom said when she saw the message from the bank on her phone. "After so many months, how come we got this donation again?" "God is looking upon us," Dad replied. "He was clearly testing us these past few months. We passed the test, and now he is back to being generous towards us." I couldn't help but smile at their conversation. Their happiness mattered to me most in the end, and I could finally see them relieved again. But this happiness didn't last long. The whole Rex case was a hot topic with the media, and I completely forgot that I was one of his investors. I had no idea that I would be exposed on national TV. I was in college when this happened. Out of nowhere, I started getting texts about how I was on the news, etc. I quickly tuned in and realized that they were discussing the whole case of Rex in detail and had shown even my picture as one of his victims. And my eyes widened when I remembered that my parents used to watch this news channel too. Before I could even process what was happening and try to think of a way to get out of this mess, I got a text from my dad. My fingers were shaking, and my heart was beating loudly in my chest as I opened the message. 4 words on my screen were enough to make me scared of what was coming. We need to talk. That's the end of my story for now. Let me know your thoughts on it and what you think I should do next to save myself from a possibly messy situation.